In the heart of Atlanta, Dr. Maya Wright, a distinguished black doctor, faced a humiliating encounter that would ignite a firestorm of justice. Celebrating a medical breakthrough at the upscale restaurant La Belle Vie, Maya was confronted by two police officers who questioned her presence there. Unbeknownst to them, Maya was the sister of Thomas Wright, a renowned civil rights lawyer. What transpired next would lead to a citywide reckoning. La Belle Vie, known for its luxurious ambiance and high-profile clientele, was bustling with energy. Lawyers, doctors, and business moguls often gathered here to enjoy fine dining and discuss significant matters. That evening, Dr. Maya Wright, a prominent 32-year-old physician, was there to celebrate a groundbreaking achievement in her medical career. With her colleagues, she reveled in the triumph, her confident demeanor and bright smile lighting up the room. "Maya, that was an incredible presentation today. You truly outdid yourself," said Dr. Emily Harris, a close colleague, raising her glass in a toast. "Thank you, Emily. It's been a long journey, but we did it together," Maya replied, clinking her glass with hers. The mood was jubilant, filled with laughter and animated conversations about their hard-earned success. Suddenly, the lively atmosphere took a sharp turn as two police officers entered the restaurant. Their imposing presence and stern expressions immediately drew attention. As they approached Maya's table, the celebration came to a halt. "Excuse me, ma'am. We need to see your identification," one officer demanded brusquely, addressing Maya directly. "What's the issue, officer?" Maya asked, trying to stay composed despite the sudden scrutiny. "We're just doing our job, ma'am. Please present your ID," the officer insisted, his tone authoritative and unyielding. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. She knew she hadn't done anything wrong, but the officer's demeanor made her feel small and vulnerable. She handed over her ID, which the officer examined with a disdainful look. "Oh, Dr. Maya Wright, huh?" the officer said, returning the ID with a sarcastic smirk. "Do you think your title gives you the right to be here?" Maya's colleagues began to protest, but the officers were relentless, making racist comments and insinuating that a black woman like Maya didn't belong in such a prestigious place. The restaurant manager attempted to intervene, but the officers dismissed him, further escalating Maya's humiliation. "This is absurd. She's a respected customer," the manager exclaimed, trying to defuse the situation. "Stay out of this," one officer snapped, glaring at the manager. "We're handling this." After a lengthy and uncomfortable interrogation, the officers finally released Maya with a forced and insincere apology. Maya maintained her composure, not wanting to show her pain. She returned home, her mind racing with the injustice she had just experienced. At home, Maya found her brother, Thomas Wright, reading in his study. Thomas, a distinguished civil rights lawyer, immediately sensed something was wrong. "Maya, what happened?" Thomas asked, concern etched on his face. "I was humiliated tonight," Maya said, her voice trembling. "Two police officers approached me at the restaurant, made racist comments, and treated me like a criminal." Anger flashed in Thomas's eyes. He embraced his sister, trying to offer comfort. "This is unacceptable. I'll take immediate action. They can't treat you like this or anyone else." The next day, Thomas used his influence to initiate an investigation into the officers involved. Determined to uncover the truth, he began reviewing cases linked to the officers, looking for any signs of misconduct. Meanwhile, Maya and her colleague, Dr. Emily Harris, decided to conduct their own investigation. They analyzed documents and records, uncovering a pattern of evidence tampering and abusive behavior. "Look at this, Maya," Emily said, pointing to an old file. "This case shows altered witness statements. I'm sure those officers were involved." Maya's indignation grew with each discovery. "This is more serious than we imagined. We need to make this public." With the help of investigative journalists, Maya and Emily began to publicize their findings. The city was in an uproar, and the media began investigating the officers' histories, uncovering a pattern of abuse and corruption. The officers, feeling the pressure, tried to intimidate Maya and Emily. They followed them, made veiled threats, but Maya refused to back down. "The truth needs to come out, Emily. We can't let this corruption continue. We need justice, not just for me, but for everyone who's been a victim." Community support began to swell. Civil rights groups joined Maya, organizing protests and pushing for a broader investigation. The city was divided between those who supported the police and those who demanded urgent reform. "We're with you, Maya," chanted the protesters outside the courthouse. "Justice now." Thomas, for his part, faced his own dilemma. Reviewing old cases, he found more and more evidence that he had unknowingly condemned people based on fabricated evidence. The responsibility weighed heavily on him, but he knew he had to do the right thing. "We need to review all these cases," Maya said, determined. "We can't let these injustices continue." "You're right, Maya," Thomas replied with a resolute look. "Let's expose the truth, no matter the cost." The tension reached its peak when a public hearing was scheduled to discuss the officer's behavior and Maya's findings. The courtroom was packed, the entire city watching intently. Finally, Maya, standing before the court, gave an emotional testimony. She spoke about the incident at the restaurant, her investigations, and the evidence she had uncovered. Each word was laden with emotion, highlighting the impact of racism and corruption on the judicial system. "Here are the proofs," Maya said, presenting documents and records. "These officers tampered with evidence to ensure quick convictions. They betrayed public trust and used their power to oppress instead of protect." Under pressure, one of the involved officers finally confessed. He revealed that they were following orders from higher-ups to ensure convictions, exposing a corruption scheme that went far beyond what anyone had imagined. The city was in shock. Thomas, overwhelmed with emotion, gave a powerful speech about justice and responsibility. "We must correct these wrongs and ensure our system is fair for everyone. We cannot allow corruption to destroy public trust in our justice system." The city, once divided, began to unite around the reforms. Several high-ranking officers were fired and prosecuted, and a large-scale review of old cases was initiated. Maya and Emily worked tirelessly to help the victims of the scheme achieve justice. Maya, now a recognized and respected figure, launched a non-profit organization to provide legal assistance to wronged individuals. With the support of her brother, colleagues, and the community, she continued to fight for a more just and equal system. The city, transformed by Maya's courage and relentless pursuit of truth, looked to the future with hope. Her story was not only about justice, but also about resilience and the importance of never giving up the fight for a better world. The news of the incident involving Maya at the restaurant spread quickly, generating outrage and heated debates. The streets were filled with protests demanding justice and police reform. Despite all the attention, Maya remained focused on her mission. Alongside Emily, she knew she had a long and difficult journey ahead. In their small office downtown, Maya and Emily worked tirelessly, assembling a giant puzzle of corruption within the police department. The place was filled with files, notes, and a whiteboard covered in diagrams and names connected by red lines. "Maya, look at this," Emily said, pulling out an old file. "This case shows altered witness testimony. I'm sure these officers are involved." Maya scanned the document quickly. "You're right, Emily. This is a pattern we've seen repeatedly. Altered testimonies, planted evidence, forced convictions. We need to expose this." As they worked, community support continued to grow. Civil rights organizations, lawyers, and even some local politicians began to rally behind Maya's cause. The city's atmosphere was tense but filled with hope. That afternoon, Maya and Emily visited one of the victims they believed had been unjustly convicted. Thomas Johnson, a 50-year-old man serving a 20-year sentence for armed robbery, had always maintained his innocence. "Thomas, we're here to help," Maya explained. "We found evidence suggesting you were wrongfully convicted. We want to fight for your freedom." Thomas, silent for a moment, looked at them with hope mixed with pain. "I've always known I was a scapegoat. Those officers fabricated the evidence. I'm innocent." Maya and Emily spent hours with Thomas, collecting testimonies and reviewing documents. They left more determined than ever to bring justice to Thomas and others who had been victims of the corrupt officers. The next day, a large protest was organized in front of the police station. Maya was invited to speak. With the microphone in hand, she addressed the crowd. "Today, we demand justice," Maya began, her voice firm and filled with emotion. "We can no longer tolerate racism, corruption, and abuse of power. I am a doctor, but above all, I am a citizen who believes in justice and equality. We need urgent reform in our police and judicial system. We need to ensure that everyone, regardless of skin color or social status, gets a fair trial." The crowd erupted in applause and shouts of support. Maya continued, "We have found evidence that officers are planting evidence and manipulating witnesses. This is not just an attack on innocent individuals, but a betrayal of public trust. We need a full and transparent investigation." As Maya spoke, she could see the hope on people's faces. Inside the police station, the officers watched the protest with grim faces, knowing the pressure on them was increasing. "This is ridiculous," muttered one officer, his face red with anger. "She's making us look like monsters." "We need to do something to discredit her," replied his colleague. "If this continues, we could all lose our jobs or worse." That night, Maya and Emily continued their investigation in their office, surrounded by piles of documents. "We have to be careful," Maya said. "These officers are dangerous and will do anything to stop us." Emily nodded. "I know, but we're doing the right thing. We need to keep going." Meanwhile, Thomas was grappling with his own turmoil, reviewing old cases and encountering more evidence of wrongful convictions based on fabricated evidence. The guilt weighed heavily on him, but so did the determination to correct past mistakes. "Thomas, how are you?" Maya asked, entering his home office. "I know this is hard for you." Thomas looked at his sister, his eyes showing pain and concern. "I'm fine, Maya. I just need to ensure that justice is served. I can't change the past, but I can fight to make sure this doesn't happen again." Maya hugged her brother, feeling the strength and love that had always united them. "We'll get through this together. We can change this." The following days were intense. Maya and Emily continued gathering evidence while the city rallied in support of their cause. A public hearing was scheduled, and the pressure on the police department grew. At the hearing, Maya presented her findings with eloquence and passion that impressed everyone. She detailed how the officers planted evidence and manipulated testimonies, supporting her claims with documents and witness statements. The courtroom was silent as she spoke, each word charged with truth and justice. "These officers betrayed our trust," Maya said, looking directly at the accused. "They used their power to oppress instead of protect. We cannot allow this to continue." One of the officers, under the pressure of the evidence and public scrutiny, finally confessed. "I confess," he said, his voice trembling. "I was forced to plant evidence and alter testimonies. We received orders from above. There was constant pressure to get quick convictions, regardless of whether the accused were actually guilty or not. The impact of the confession was immediate. The room erupted in murmurs and shouts of indignation. Judge Thomas Wright, maintaining his composure, called for silence and continued to listen to the testimonies attentively. Another officer, seeing there was no escape, also decided to speak. "Yes, it's true. We were encouraged to manipulate evidence and secure convictions, all to improve statistics and receive rewards." Maya felt a mix of relief and sadness. Relief that the truth was finally coming out, but sadness at seeing how far the corruption had spread. "These acts not only betrayed public trust, but also destroyed lives," Maya said, her voice laden with emotion. "It's imperative that not only the guilty be punished, but that deep reforms be implemented to prevent something like this from happening again." Thomas, with a serious and determined look, thanked Maya and the other testimonies. "This court is committed to ensuring that justice is served and that the necessary reforms are applied. We cannot allow such abuses to continue to stain our judicial system." The hearing was adjourned for deliberations. Outside, the city was buzzing with discussions and protests. Maya and Emily left the courthouse, surrounded by supporters and journalists. "Maya, how do you feel now that the truth is coming out?" a reporter asked, pushing a microphone toward her. "I feel that we've taken an important step, but the fight isn't over. We need to ensure that the reforms are implemented and that all victims of this scheme receive justice," Maya replied firmly. Inside the police department, the atmosphere was one of tension and fear. Many officers knew their careers were at risk, and the senior ranks were worried about the repercussions. "We need to act fast," said the police chief, meeting with his advisors. "Let's cooperate with the investigation and try to salvage what we can of our reputation." In the following days, the city witnessed a series of dismissals and arrests within the police department. Senior officers were indicted, and a large-scale review of old cases was initiated. Maya and Emily dedicated themselves to helping victims get new hearings and overturn unjust convictions. Thomas Johnson was one of the first to benefit. With Maya's help, he got a new hearing and was exonerated of all charges. The smile on his face as he left the courthouse, finally free, was proof of the positive impact of Maya's fight. "Thank you, Maya. You saved my life," Thomas said, tears in his eyes. "It wasn't just me, Thomas. It was a collective effort, and we'll keep fighting so no one else suffers what you did," Maya replied, moved. As the city underwent these changes, Maya continued to meet with her team to plan the next steps. Her nonprofit organization was growing, and she was receiving increasing support from various sectors of society. In one of these meetings, Emily brought a proposal. Maya, I think we should expand our activities. Besides offering legal assistance, we could create education programs to raise awareness about rights and how to defend against abuses. Maya smiled, seeing the enthusiasm and passion in Emily. It's an excellent idea, Emily. We need to educate and empower our community. Let's do it. The following months were marked by intense work, but also significant achievements. Maya and her team managed to overturn several unjust convictions and helped many victims rebuild their lives. The impact of their work began to be recognized nationally, and other cities started to implement reforms inspired by Maya's fight. One day, Maya received an unexpected call. It was from a high-ranking federal government representative, inviting her to a meeting in Washington, D.C. to discuss national police reform policies. "It's an incredible opportunity," Maya said to Emily, excited. "Our work is making a difference, and now we can help transform the entire country." Emily felt a mix of pride and responsibility. "Let's go to Washington, then. There's still a lot to be done, but we're on the right track." Upon arriving in Washington, Maya was received with respect and admiration. During the meeting, she shared her experiences and presented policy proposals based on the reforms implemented in her city. Her eloquence and knowledge impressed the government representatives, who committed to seriously considering her suggestions. Back in Atlanta, Maya continued her tireless work. With each new victory, she felt she was getting closer to achieving her goal of a fair and equal system. Her foundation grew, helping more people and promoting significant changes. One night, while reviewing documents in her office, Maya received a surprise visit. It was Thomas, with a proud smile on his face. "Maya, you did it," Thomas said, tears in his eyes. "You made a real difference. I'm so proud of you." Maya hugged her brother, feeling the weight and joy of her journey. "There's still a lot to do, but together we'll keep fighting." Thomas nodded, knowing his sister was an unstoppable force. "We will, for a better future for everyone." And so, Maya continued her fight, inspiring others to join her and never give up the struggle for justice and equality. Her city, transformed by her actions, looked to the future with hope and determination, ready to face any challenge in the name of justice.